Welcome to the First Podcast, a podcast of First Baptist Church Lake Butler, where the pastors... Why do you do this to me? Okay.
I'm surprised you don't have this pre-recorded. You know, you can just pre-record it and then put it in there.
Right.
Okay.
But then you lose a little bit of the soul.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, man. Get back to it, Sam Cooke.
Honestly, I might just keep this.
Yeah.
Where the pastors gather to encourage and equip our church to engage the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Welcome to this special episode of the First Podcast. I'm here with Pastor Jason and Pastor Sean DeMars.
Woo woo.
Welcome back.
What is the percentage of your church members that you think listen to this?
100%.
Yes.
Are you serious?
How many do I think?
Yeah.
I think 100%.
Okay. I mean, if it's anywhere close to that, though, that's got to be super encouraging.
How many actually?
It's a great pastoral tool.
Yeah, the actual, maybe 50%.
Yeah.
I would think.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I would hope.
Yeah. And if we put in the title that it's Sean interview with Sean DeMars.
Yeah, we'll have over 100%.
51. 50.
But we actually have listeners all around the world. We look at the metrics sometimes, and there's at least one in Sweden. Yep.
And Iceland.
New Zealand. It could be because
Old Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah. We're so grateful to have you back, man. Thank you for doing this. Last time we got together, Sean helped with our camp, did a great job there, and we did a podcast up in the mountains of Georgia. And
I'm doing camp again this year. If you say,
are.
Sean, let's do another podcast, I'll just do it again.
Okay.
I'll just talk into a microphone anytime you ask me to.
Nice. I'm not sure we can afford that, though. Your price is pretty steep.
I don't have an honorarum for this, so I think you can afford it.
I think we can double what we gave him after camp.
Yeah, there you go. We are grateful to have you. So Sean is a pastor of 6th Avenue Baptist Church. You also...
Not the name of my church, but keep going. That's error number
Baptist
one. I want to keep an error count going.
All right.
That's one.
6th Avenue Church.
Community church.
Community. Oh, nice.
We had to do that because when we left the Church of God denomination, before we left the denomination, we had to change the name. And the only way that you can change the name is if you either have to have Church of God or you have to have community in there, one or the other. Okay.
So 6th Avenue Presbyterian. And then you also get to, you have a podcast called Room for Nuance where you get to interview so many great authors, thinkers. I'm sure most of our members probably have heard at least of the podcast. So you do a lot of this. What else do you do? I mean, is that it? CrossFit. That's right.
CrossFit, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you thought about heaven when somebody made you pass out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got put to sleep. And when I woke up, I said, I wonder if this is what it's going to be like when we cross over, because it just feels like you're coming out of a dream.
Does that mean that you kind of lost if you were put to sleep?
If you get put to sleep, you lost. That means in real life, you die.
Yeah.
Yeah. They choke you until you die.
That's sad.
Yeah. And it also means that I was being prideful. They had me in a submission. I was fighting to escape. I wouldn't tap. Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Yep. Okay.
I've got my arm broken that way, my leg, been put to sleep several times.
Wow. Okay. And you still do it?
Yeah.
Nice. Do you want to start as Jason?
Yeah, well, I would like to say this is my first time getting to meet Sean. We have a lot of mutual friends, and he has served alongside of Jonathan, some other brothers that we fellowship with. And so for me, and I told him before we started that, I've heard of him as a podcaster and heard of him as a guest speaker, powerful personal testimony that he's put into a book. Ooh.
Rebel to Your Will.
Rebel to Your Will. I wanted to
get that right.
I wanted to go rebel without a cause, and I was like, that doesn't feel right.
Don't ask me the subtitle.
Right. Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, okay.
But man, what just so interests me is Sean the pastor, and I know that's where your heart is. There was something I just watched, and you were just talking about the greatest thing that you get to do is shepherd your people, and so I didn't even know the name of the church either. So, I mean, we can start from the beginning. Tell us about just how God called you to be a pastor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a pretty radical salvation experience. And what that means is essentially as soon as I got saved, people wanted me to tell my story. Two greatest fears in life. One is heights. One is public speaking. So I was always terrified. I mean, I was that guy. When I would grab a microphone, I would be out of breath for the first 5 minutes before I finally was able to calm down enough to communicate. But I also immediately began to evangelize. Like when I got saved, like I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew is that Jesus had saved me, that he could save other people. And I was trying to tell everybody about it.
Mm-hmm.
My plan at one point in time was to crawl on top of the roof of a Jack's. Do you know what a Jack's is? It's like a Hardee's, but in Alabama.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was going to preach the gospel to anybody walking in or out of Jack's. That was my plan. So a desire to evangelize and proclaim and herald the gospel, plus people wanting me to share my crazy testimony story, it kind of set me on that trajectory. A lot of people said a lot of really unhelpful things to me in those early days, like in the prosperity gospel, people prophesied over me.
Mm-hmm.
I see you in a stadium, with masses around you preaching the gospel. And well, I pastor of a church of 100 people, so that's probably not likely. But I was like, oh, this is good. I mean, preaching the gospel, shepherding the sheep, that sounds like something I would love to give my life to. But then when I actually came to understand what the ministry is and how fearful of a thing it is and how weighty of a responsibility it is, then I backed away from it completely. I was just like, oh, I shouldn't be leading anybody in that capacity. But then I came into a healthy church context where I saw pastors shepherd well, and I saw when they used their authority in the way that God has intended, it brought life to people. Mm-hmm. And nothing gets me more excited than that, And I was like, oh, okay, so I do think I can do this as long as I stay humble. He uses broken vessels. I'm an idiot. He knows it. He delights to use the weak things of the world to shame the wise. Mm-hmm. So I do think I can do this. And then it took me several years of preparation, working on my character. I haven't been to seminary or anything like that. So growing in my knowledge of the word and various and sundry other things, counseling. Yeah. And then finally one day, because the Lord has a sense of humor, my first pastoral gig was doing a church revitalization of a church of God.
And when was that in relation to doing Capitol Hill's internship?
So I was 5 years in the Army, 4 years on the mission field in the jungles of Peru.
Yeah.
I spent a year in a Presbyterian church trying to become a Presbyterian. When that didn't work, I sent Mark Dever an email and I said, I'm looking at the qualifications for your internship program. I don't meet any of them, but I figured I'd ask. Mm-hmm. May I? And he said yes. That was in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, and here we are today.
Gotcha.
What even pointed you to Mark Dever?
I had been stationed with the military in Washington, D.C., and I was a member of his church for a year in 2011. But I didn't have any connections there. I mean, I had met him twice, like at the door on the way out. I wasn't like a presence there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember looking at the interns while I was there, while I was still in the military, getting ready to go to the mission field, looking at the interns and just thinking, I could never do that. I could never do that. These guys are rock stars. This guy did his PhD here, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, this is impossible. But then you you go through a lot on the mission field and you realize, just embarrass yourself. Just ask. Who knows what the Lord will do, So.
Wow.
How'd you get connected to Peru?
When we were in Iraq, I was a combat medic and I saw people die often. The reality of hell really hit home to me. And we decided to pursue the mission field. I was wanting to go somewhere in the Muslim context because I was hearing the call to prayer 5 times a day and all that stuff. And I was studying Islam. And then my wife wasn't down for that at all. And she's a pretty good barometer of the Lord's will for my life because she's usually down for whatever. If I said, babe, let's sell everything today and move to Timbuktu, she'd probably just be like, well, what are we going to do with the kids? That sort of thing. So when she said no, I took that as a pretty good sign. And she said, but I do want to go somewhere like hard for Jesus. And then the Lord just opened a door to Peru. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Certain mission organization?
We went independent. We got approved to go with Pioneers, but they required you to raise a considerable amount of money, like $5,000 a month to go live in the jungle. And this is our own personal conviction. We don't think it's binding on anyone else, but we just wanted to count the cost ourselves. So we just sold everything we owned and we took our savings account and we just bought a plane ticket and went down there.
Did you get connected with the Church of God Revitalization out of the internship at
No, it was prior to that. So I was on staff at the PCA church. I wrote an article for Desiring God. There was my bio said Decatur, Alabama. Well, a local pastor reached out to me. He was the interim pastor of this Church of God church. He said, I saw your article. You seem to be like-minded. You're in my area. Can we meet and talk about this? So I met up with him, and he told me his whole story, basically about how he had had a reformation according to Scripture, and he wanted to start preaching in this church, and he couldn't preach because there was a pastor. But then the pastor quit, and guess who they asked to preach? Him. And he was very transparent. He said, I feel like I don't really know what I'm doing. And I gave him a little book on expositional preaching, and then I gave him a book on membership. And he did this really weird thing. You're a pastor, you get this. He actually read them. So often you get people books and you're like, well, that's $20 down the toilet. And then so I was sort of discipling him while I was on staff at this other church. And I was the guy behind the curtain, now do this, and he would do it. And then he asked if I would go be their pastor. And I was just like, no, brother, it's a church of God. You have female pastors. You don't believe in creeds. You don't believe in membership. You don't believe in discipline. You won't be able to pay me. So love you. Thank you. I'll be here to support you. I'll talk as often as you want to help you do this, but I'm going to DC. That's what I did. And then God has a sense of humor. So he took me back.
And you have written a book kind of about a lot of the experiences of that Reformation being there to revitalize the church through kind of the lens of humor. Yeah. Do you want to share some of those stories? Like, what was it like leading people through those convictions and really kind of the ground floor?
So C.S. Lewis says that beauty gets past the dragons. How do you get through people's defenses, right? You can do it with something that's beautiful. You can also do it with humor, which is why stand-up comedians are so effective, right? They're, Dave Chappelle goes up there and he makes a really profound point. Whether or not you agree with it is beside the point. He makes a really profound point, and you don't even realize that he got there because he bathed it all in humor. So I wanted to tell this story of the church revitalization and really drive home, I think, some profound points about healthy ministry. Yeah. But what we went through was so absurd. I mean, it was so preposterous. I mean, I just have so many stories that you cannot believe that they're true, but they are, and they're hilarious. So I kind of turned the dial up on them. So think about a caricature drawing at a county fair. It's a picture of you and your wife, but your nose is accentuated. Your hair looks crazy. It's you, but it's not you. That's kind of what I did with this book. I took a lot of the stories and I just made them, I think, twice as funny. And then so that you would enjoy reading and getting those lessons all the way through. Yeah. Okay, so I've been getting to know you through social media. So I know you basically about what's on Facebook or something like that. Just Facebook. So you've been referencing, there's something that's been referenced often about a funny book. Yeah, something. Funny for Jesus. So that's what it started off. I wanted it to be a book on humor, but I had my elders read it. And one of my elders said, the funniest things in here are the stories that you tell about the revitalization. So when I read that, I said, that's probably the way that I should do it. So I completely reworked the book, took the best parts of it, and then turned it into a book about church revitalization. Yeah. Well, man, I'll have to check that out. It'll be out with Christian Focus sometime. Very good. They've approved it. The contract's coming in the mail, but it's not out yet. Could you share maybe one or two of your favorites? I know it's probably hard to pick. Oh, there's the Cauldron of Doom, where I baptized this young lady. So did I already tell you this story? No, I don't think so. So our baptismal didn't work, and they hadn't really been baptizing anybody in that church for a while. If they did, it was probably a child who was unregenerate, and it was just a big, pageant. So it was the middle of the winter, and we went to go turn the waters on and get them heated, and the heat pump didn't work. So we didn't have the money. I mean, we had zero monies, so we could not fix it. So I went to our deacon, who's like a redneck MacGyver, and I said, brother, what can we do? Can you figure something out? We got to baptize this sister. And he said, oh yeah, I'll get one of those things that you put in like a cow trough in the winter to heat the water so it doesn't freeze, which is just like an electric cord and PVC. I mean, I don't know how it's safe, but somehow it works. So he put it in there and he left it in there all night. So we were, I preach my sermon. I bring her up. She shares her testimony in front of the church. We sing Victory in Jesus. We're walking back to go to get ready for the baptism. And I just run my fingers across the top of the water. And I went, oh no, this water was hotter than the hottest bath water I had ever felt. So I go to the baptismal. I'm thinking what do I do? We can't back out of the baptism, what would Jesus do, right? I'm looking at my what would Jesus do bracelet, and I'm thinking, oh, he would get 3rd-degree burns for the sake of this baptism. Mm-hmm. So I lead her back there, and I step down. First step into the baptismal, I'm panicking. It felt like I've stepped into the white hot magma core of the earth. I'm thinking, this is bad. I go all the way down. Once it gets to my waist, I'm thinking, good thing I'm done having kids, because it's not scrambled eggs, like not going to be able to have any more kids after this. But I'm standing there and I'm surviving.
Yeah.
So I turn to the sister, this little lamb of Jesus, looking at me, her future pastor, trust, nothing but trust.
Yeah.
She has no idea that I'm about to wound her.
Oh.
And I look at her and I say, hey, trust me, it's going to be okay.
We're going Presbyterian.
And then she steps down, and as soon as she steps down, she goes, and I'm like, it's going to be okay. So long story short, I give the fastest gospel presentation in the world. I'm like, something dead with Christ, something resurrected with Jesus forever. All right, come on down. And I dunk her. And when she comes back up, dude, there's 1,000-yard stare in her eyes. You know, you hear like Creedence, like Fortunate Son playing in the background, the theme song from Vietnam. And I give her a hug and she gets out. And afterwards I go up and I say, sister, are you okay? And she says, I think I'm going to be okay. And that's like one of 4 bad baptism stories that I tell in this book. Amazing. I mean, there was a pretty good run of awful baptisms.
So a lot of things, I guess, didn't go perfectly in your first, few years of ministry.
To put it mildly.
How, what convictions kind of kept you going with I know I'm called to ministry. I know I really want to pastor here. I'm not going to leave. Because at all those points, it can be I think I'm out of here, So
the really nice, this is where you really have to believe in the sovereignty of God, and you have to really believe that his prescription for faithfulness is much to be preferred to your perception of fruitfulness, right? Mm-hmm. If you make your philosophy of ministry decisions based off of what you perceive fruit to be, you're going to make all kinds of mistakes. But God is exceedingly clear in his word that all he asks of you is to be the faithful sower of the seeds. The soils may vary. You can't change that. He's going to change that. You just cast the seeds as far as you can throw them, right? So preach the word, pray the word, sing the word, see the word in the baptism and the Lord's Supper, train up elders, sit with people in the hospital, love people better than they deserve, try to build all of that into the regular culture of your church. And if the Lord wants to close the doors of the church because the lampstand was already removed before you got there, fine. Then I'm going to take the few regenerate members who are here, and I'm going to try to shepherd them into a healthier church context. And those who are goats, they're going to leave. I can't help that. And then we'll, sell the building and give the money somewhere where they'll do a lot of good gospel work with it. Mm-hmm. And that's a perfectly valid ministry. Yeah. So you just have to keep the last day in mind. When I stand before the Lord Jesus on the last day, he's not going to say, all right, what percentage of membership increase did you see over a 5-year period at 6th Avenue Community Church? It's not what he's going to say. Mm-hmm. What he's going to say is, I gave you my word. How did you use it? Mm-hmm. And so that's just what keeps you awake at night. That's what gets you up in the morning. Mm-hmm. And that governs everything else in between. And it's also really good to not have your identity connected to success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say you had that rock solid when you started? Because you said it very well. That's not the first time that you can tell that you have embodied convictionally what you just said. Yeah.
Well, the reason why I actually did have it when I started was because I was a failed missionary. So I lived it out. My plan was to be improved forever, preach the gospel to the Urarina people group, see an unreached people group become fully evangelized for the glory of Jesus and all these other things. And it didn't happen. My health failed. My marriage began to collapse. But it's doing great now, by the way. But my family was suffering. Mm. All the money we spent felt like it was wasted. Came home and we were like, I think that's about as bad as it can go, other than moral failure being, that's assuming that we did all the things. That's about as much of a failure as it could have been. Mm. And you know what? I think the Lord was pleased. So, okay, got the failure out of the way. Some entrepreneurs talk about this with businesses and startups. They go out there, they try, they fail. And instead of just taking their ball and go home, they're like, okay, I saw what failure is like. It's not that bad. I can keep going. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As you look back over the years and what God has done in his church, what would you say has been the maybe single most important thing that you feel like the Lord has used to build his church?
I mean, I feel like the generic answer is just the faithful ministry of the word.
So tell us what that looked like when you got there.
Yeah.
And how you led the people in that.
Yeah. So the word of God divides people. So when I got there and gospel ministry came to life in that church, not because of me, just because I'm a herald of the gospel, there was initially a lot of division. Even if you handle everything well, even if you are just, fruit of the Spirit, you're perfectly balanced, you're all perfectly loving, it doesn't matter. Jesus went around and preached the gospel, and a lot of people hated him for it. So you just have to understand that right out of the gate. You go out there, the word's going to divide people. Mm-hmm. The spiritual temperature of the church increases, and some people go, I got to get out of here. I did not sign up for this sauna. Other people go, yeah, baby, crank it up. This is what I've been waiting for, like I want to break a sweat, the weird David Goggins run 17 miles in a sauna kind of thing. And cut that, please. And then, so that's the first thing. You just have to have that in your mind. The word of God is going to come in this church. And if you think that we're not going to lose members over this, you're wrong. Okay. Yeah. So then what do? Well, for those who are actually regenerate, who do love the Lord, who are hungry to be discipled, who want to grow, who want to be faithful, who want to be shepherded, even if at first they don't like it, like, oh man, they're bringing structure and discipline. I'm not used to this, but then they go, ooh, this actually feels really good. You have to earn people's trust by being a faithful handler of the word of God, right? I told them when I got there, I said, you have to fire me if I ever stop doing this. And then they see it on Wednesdays when you do your inductive Bible studies. They see it in Sunday schools when you teach whatever you're teaching, evangelism, discipleship classes. They see it on Sunday where when I'm preaching the text, I go, now listen, look down at verse 12. You see this? This is where I'm getting it. This is not Sean's idea. I think this is Paul's train of thought here. And if I've got it wrong, you come tell me afterwards. But I think so you're training them to be Bereans. And then the more you can do that, the more they trust you. And then you can accrue a kind of authority to yourself that is honored and organic. When I was in the military, anybody who was above me in rank had authority over me, but that did not mean that I particularly wanted to follow their orders, right? They could have been ignorant, whatever. What you loved in the military were those officers who knew their stuff, who were always there to get after it, who would get into the suck with you, who you could trust to be trying to advance your career. Same thing with a pastor. I want a guy who I know is in submission to the word, who loves the word, who's going to repent when he gets the word wrong. I can follow that guy. And so you just have to establish that in various and sundry ways. For instance, if I'm in a counseling session as the new pastor of this church that's dying, and we go an hour talking about your marriage issues, and I don't ever open my Bible, there's a problem. So you just do that.
What was the single most difficult obstacle for your church to follow you in? Was it in doctrine? Was it in practice? Was there one of each? What was your biggest hurdle?
Initially, it was foot washing, which sounds like a joke, but it's not. Foot washing was believed to be the third ordinance of the church in the Church of God, Anderson. And when I told them that it wasn't, before I even got hired, actually, this was in the interview process. I said, I'm not going to practice foot washing in this church. I don't think you're certainly welcome to wash each other's feet at home if you like, or get together and have a whatever, Two of the elders who interestingly voted for me to become the pastor left the church over that. So that was a pretty big hullabaloo, which again, I know it sounds weird in our world, but for them, it's pretty significant. And then after that, I think it would just be the general way we do things. I had a man who I trust loves the Lord. He came to me and he said, okay, here's how we're going to grow this church. We're going to buy 5,000 door hangers and we're going to go put them up around the neighborhood. I said, Frank, I love you, brother. We don't have the money for that. It's probably not going to work. What about this? What if I just equip the saints for the work of the ministry and then they just learn to be good evangelists wherever they go and they invite people to church? And he was like, we've tried that. And I was like, well, 10 people here on a Sunday. I don't know that you have. So just always doing that. Somebody coming to you with some idea that's kind of carnal, not particularly wise, not really rooted in scripture. You have to lovingly but firmly sort of bat their hand away and then suggest the biblical alternative. It wears on people, except for the people that it doesn't. When it doesn't wear on people, that it's refreshing. They're encouraged. They're like, oh man. And then you show them in the Bible and now they're all for it. And then what you need to do is you reach a point of critical mass, right? Where there's less people who are angry with you, who are hoping you'll fail, all that. You have fewer of those people and more of the people who go, no, we want to just do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long would you estimate that took to get to that?
I think it took us about 3.5, 4 years, but we were a very small church. They were just about dead when I got there. So they didn't have a lot of fight left in them. We used to say when we were in Iraq, whenever someone would come into the OR and they were like in shock, we could drill into their bones. They didn't care because they were that close to being dead, you know? So that's kind of where our church was. And I did a lot of things wrong, and the Lord just, allowed it to keep going forward. Yeah. Yeah, about 3.5 years, but it's very atypical. I mean, I've had people come up to me after they've heard the story and they said, hey, I'm thinking about going into this heretical denomination and trying to revitalize it. I'm like, you probably shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You probably shouldn't. I mean, I didn't really even understand what I was getting into, and I knew it was going to be bad. And I think I'm the exception that proves the rule. Don't do this.
Mm-hmm. So now, what does like a typical week look like with your with wanting to continue?
Did you see my day in the life video?
I did.
So it looks like that just every day.
Okay, all right.
I wake up, I do an ice bath for my face with Diet Mountain Dew in a bowl. Sorry, what does a week look like?
Does it have a typical structure to what you're trying to do when I mean like text work or trying to meet with certain people on certain days, just for those who are listening?
I don't take Monday off because I found that as the senior pastor, stuff can bleed over from Sunday into Monday that I have to deal with anyways. Mm-hmm. So it just never really works out. So I take Monday to be the main day where I wrap my arms around the text, and then I just piddle with doing other administrative things, which I don't do a lot of because I'm very bad at it. Just other things around the office and whatever, answering emails that I need to get caught up on. A kind of a low stress day. Mm-hmm. Tuesday is the day where I come in and I'm like, by the end of the day today, I need to understand exactly how I'm going to preach this sermon, and I probably need to get started on it. Mm-hmm. I want to use most of Wednesday to write my sermon. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'll have one day off in there somewhere. And then the other 2 days, I'll do most of my other stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Now that's oversimplified.
Right.
Yeah. There's elders meetings and there's Bible studies and Sunday school and counseling sessions. Yeah. I believe in a 6-day work week for pastors.
Yeah.
So I work 6 days a week, not because I'm anything. Mm-hmm. I know it could sound like that, but I think most, like in my congregation, a lot of the people are working like 50 hours a week minimum. Mm. Yeah. 6 days you work, 1 day you rest. Sunday is not a rest day for me. It's a work day. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have a sabbatical?
I just had a sabbatical last year. I took 3 months.
Was that your first one?
First one. And boy, did I need it. It was, 7 years, probably needed anyways, but 7 hard years because of the church revitalization, which, by the way, I came home from Peru, didn't rest, went to a Presbyterian church, didn't rest, did the internship, which is really intense, didn't rest, did the revitalization, didn't rest. So, it was probably sinful how much I did without resting. And so those 3 months, man, they were just incredible. And I'm really passionate. I don't know what your sabbatical policy is at your church, but I hope your people give you guys all the sabbatical you need. Because what you need is not a pastor who's going to be a good pastor for 7 years before he gets burnt out and goes and finds another church. If they love you, they want you to be there until you retire, hopefully, if you even retire,
What does sabbatical look like for you? Is that visiting other churches? Is that reading? Is that included like vacation, time with your family?
I very intentionally told my congregation that I was going to visit a different church every Sunday while I was on sabbatical for 2 reasons. Number one, I just assumed it was going to be really hard for them to stop relating to me as a pastor. And sure enough, it was. I love every member of my church so much, but I got a call the day after I started sabbatical, after all of our elders had warned everybody, do not bother Sean. They were like, hey, this isn't really a pastoral issue, but can we talk about this? And I was like, this is a pastoral issue. No. So I just knew if you see me in the church on Sunday morning, you're just not really going to be able to let me rest. You're not going to be able to let my family rest. So yeah. And then the other reason is we try to be intentional about building relationships with other churches in the area so we can benefit from them, so we can do them good. And I really don't know what a Sunday morning looks like in most of these churches. I don't know what their worship looks like, how they're operating, where their health and unhealth is. I mean, I know what they tell me, but there's something different about being their boots on the ground. Right. So I got to see a lot of the churches in our area and what they do. Yeah. I also went to Church of the Highlands on one Sunday.
Where's that?
It's one of the largest
in the Highlands?
growing churches in America.
Oh.
On Easter, they had 105,000 people total in all their campuses. It's really unhealthy. Yeah, I thought you guys would have known about them. Sorry. Do you guys know Church of the Highlands? This guy gets it. Okay.
What do you find most challenging in pastoral ministry? And if you want to follow up, what do you find most rewarding?
Most challenging, my sin. Like, far and away. I'm just so tired of it. It just gets so old. And my weaknesses, my limitations. And every time I mess up, I'm usually going to mess up in front of people that look up to me. And that's bad and it's dangerous and it's unhelpful. So I'm just ready to go home. The most encouraging thing is probably the way that people love me, despite how much of a screw up I am. Yeah.
So just following that up, pastorally, I do think that I want to tread lightly here out of respect for the sheep, but I do think there's a uniqueness in the spiritual battle in the pastorate. I think the standard to which we are held as an example, and sometimes we don't have the means of grace that our members have to us. We can't go and fight that battle of sin with. Sometimes that can be lonely. Sometimes that can be difficult, unsafe. How do you battle it?
One of the things that I'm so blessed with, brother, is my elders and the congregation. So there's a pastor in my area a few years ago who was like, hey, I want to get a group of guys, solid guys from various churches in the area. And I want us to go out and I want us to have a weekend of like accountability and confession and pouring into each other. And I was like, brother, I love that instinct, but I have that. I have that with my elders. I don't need to, and maybe there's room for both, right? Doesn't have to be one or the other, but I knew his context and I knew it was because he didn't have that. And so he was trying to get it from outside of his local church. Well, I have that with my elders, and I can't imagine doing it. I even try to tell them, like, we have, some other guys, PAs, guys who are coming up in training. We usually have them in the room as well, interns. And I just tell them, hey, this is not a lot of pastors' experience. A lot of pastors are really struggling. They have staff, they have fellow ministers that they don't get along with, that there's a lot of friction with. I'm just so incredibly blessed I don't have that. We have good times of confession, accountability, a culture where we can speak openly, both encouragement and critique. And it wasn't always like that. I mean, it took a lot of hard work to get us there. And that's one of the hardest things about it is you have to build that in your church if you want to have it, which is kind of like building a bridge as you walk across it. It's really challenging. But then the other thing is my congregation. I wasn't kidding, man. Like nobody who spends 5 minutes with me fails to understand exactly where I'm sinful and weak. It's just what you see is what you get. And every time someone joins my church, I'm always a little surprised. Are you sure? Have you met me? I'm going to be the senior pastor here, and just the way that they're just like, yeah. And the way they call out my sin if they need to, the way that they hold me accountable, but also the way that they love me and bear with me and support me. Wouldn't trade it for anything. Yeah.
One more quick question.
Yeah, brother.
So you mentioned interns, PAs. Seems like it'd be something you're fired up about. Oh, yeah. What is it that God is doing in your church right now, or your pastoral burden heart that you're excited about and wanting to see in your church?
2 Timothy 2:2, you have to train up future men. You have to. Everyone has to, in some capacity all the time. It might be more formal or less formal, more organized, less organized. It might be more fruitful, less fruitful. It doesn't matter. Jesus is clear. Some people have more talents than others. I'm not a Mark Dever or Charles Spurgeon, but I'll take whatever like slender gifts he's given me, and I'm going to use it to try to raise up other men who are faithful. And they're probably not going to be Pipers or Spurgeons, but they're going to be faithful. And so we do that. Generally, we have an elders training program at our church where we walk you through systematic theology, biblical theology, ethics, biblical counseling, so that if you never go to seminary, you'll at least feel like, I've gotten some decent equipping. Like I really do feel like I've shown myself, what's the verse? As labor to show yourself as one approved, right handling of the word of God. So they can say that. And then we also have a more formal, like an even more formal internship program where we take guys through a 6-month pastoral training residency. They live with us. We pay them. Their job is to study books, study the church. And then if we have the ability, which we don't always, we hire PAs. These are guys who we think are moving towards full-time vocational ministry, and they're not really there yet. The bun needs a little more time in the oven. So we essentially just have them do work that's not pastoral so they can just be in our ecosystem. So one of our guys right now, he was an intern 3 years ago. No, 4, almost 5 years ago. Wow. He wasn't even ready to become a PA. So he just got a job. He worked a faithful secular job, stuck around the church, was a healthy church member. We kept checking back in with him. He says, no, I still want to do ministry. And finally, I'd seen him grow and mature so much, and we had a need. And I was like, hey, you're probably not the best fit for this job. And I know this wasn't what you're looking for, but if you'll come, we'll pay you not very much, and you come and do a job that you don't really love, but you'll get to be around us and we'll raise you up, which is what my associate pastor did. My associate pastor was an intern, and then we didn't have any money to hire him. So he went to work at Walmart. But he was a faithful church member. And then when we got a little bit of money, we hired him for a very little bit of money as a PA. And he was such a good pastoral assistant that our congregation, they were beating down my door. They were like, wait, when is he going to be a pastor? He's great, which is what you want, right?
Right.
So then he became our associate pastor. And so we're trying to take guys through that, grow them up, homegrown if possible. Yeah.
Well, brother, praise the Lord for not only the grace in your life, but the grace extended through you in building a church for the glory of God.
Yeah,
That's
the Lord's
awesome.
been so kind, man. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of good things about your church. I know this isn't that kind of interview. You're not just complimenting me to get a boomerang compliment, but I really do mean it. I've heard a lot of good things about you guys, and I love spending time with your kids. I'm so pumped for camp to give your kids all the book of Romans one week. Let's go. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do some rapid fire questions now.
Ooh, let's do it.
Yeah.
You got any? You don't have any.
I can just do the ones you do.
Okay. Nobody's ever done that for me.
Wow.
You want me to pull them up?
This is the first.
This is okay. Rapid fire.
I can remember some of them.
No, you gotta use the list.
Mountains
brother.
or beach?
You said nouns or beach? This guy.
I must be on the wrong page. I was like, favorite book?
All right, here we go.
Right now?
All right, here we go.
Tea or coffee?
There's Jamie.
Neither.
Right. Favorite sitcom?
The Office.
Young Earth or Old Earth?
Old Earth.
Wow. So Dever, Piper, Keller, Sproul, Johnny Mack. You're on a desert island. You can only listen to their sermons.
Piper.
Wow. There you go. Lewis or Tolkien?
Lewis.
Okay. Favorite fiction?
Probably Cormac McCarthy, All the Pretty Horses.
Have you read that, Jason?
I have not.
Okay.
Just to be honest, I've never heard of it.
Okay.
This guy's uncultured swine.
I resign. Okay. Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
I'm not even going to ask you the champagne or wine question because of our...
I don't drink. Yeah.
Yeah. Least favorite candy?
Black licorice.
Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Morning person or night owl?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Take a risk or play it safe? When have you asked that
Take
question?
a risk. It's new.
It's new. Wow. Bidet or toilet paper?
Bidet all day. Pressure wash that thing. Let's go.
If you know, you know. Mayonnaise or mustard?
Mayonnaise.
Text message or email?
Text. I do not enjoy getting long emails. Just text me or call me.
Night out or night in?
Night out.
Burger King or McDonald's?
Burger King.
Mexican or Italian or Asian?
Are you asking me which is my least favorite race?
I was going to do it, man.
Okay. So my favorite food is Mexican.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go. Football or basketball?
Neither.
Burgers or barbecue?
Burgers.
Chinese takeout or sushi? Like good sushi, not like...
Chinese takeout.
Okay. All right. There you go.
No Bulls, Metcons, or Nanos?
Oh.
No Bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm noble too.
Yeah.
But that's who you prefer.
Nobody asked.
Wait. Okay. Rock or rap?
Used to be rap. Now it's rock.
Why haven't you had Shailin on?
I've tried. He told me, he said, Sean, I love you. I'm never going to come on your show.
Wow.
We have to go.
We do have to. It hasn't come through yet. Lem's
Are you
texting
not done
me.
with it?
I'm sorry. Unibrow or no eyebrows. You can't change
Unibrow.
it. Trapped on an Island, one systematic theology. What do you choose?
Bavinck.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Have you really read all his dogmatic?
No, but I know that I could read it over and over again.
Okay. All right, there you go. What hymn do you want to be sung at your funeral?
It as well.
Nice.
And how many holes does a straw have?
Holes does a straw have?
All right, we got to go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Sean.
That was awesome.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the First Podcast. Until next time, for your joy and God's glory.